And nobody wanted to be my partner for this project. But I don't know anything about Puerto Rico.
I know about Puerto Rico.
I don't even know anything about historical context.
I will provide a brief overview, 500-word maximum, of Puerto Rico's history, covering the following periods: pre-colonial rule,
Wow.
Spanish rule,
Wow.
United States rule.
Ew.
The first inhabitants of Puerto Rico were the Arawak Indians, which look something like this. They developed the Taino culture, and they reached the island more than 1,000 years before the arrival of the Spanish. They lived in clans and had very limited knowledge of agriculture, but they grew tropical plants such as pineapples, cassava, and sweet potatoes, along with eating seafood.
Oh, I can remember the rest all on my own. In 1493, Columbus set sail on his second voyage east. At the island of Guadalupe, the Spanish rescued several prisoners from the Caribbean. Afterwards, Columbus agreed to return them. On November 19, 1493, Columbus renamed their island San Juan Bautista, meaning Saint Juan the Baptist.
Wow, you're really smart!
Also in 1493, during Spanish rule, Columbus arrived in Puerto Rico and it got a new name from the gold in said river.
You're right, but the new name actually caused it to be under Spanish rule, and that became an important military outpost under Spanish rule.
Didn't the Spanish also make them have cattle, sugarcane, and coffee in there as well? Yes.
This actually caused slaves to be imported from Africa. As a result, Puerto Rican bloodlines come from Spanish and African. Over the years, numerous unsuccessful attempts were made by the French, Dutch, and English to take over it. But when U.S. forces invaded the island at Guanica under the Treaty of Paris in 1898, Spain gave up Puerto Rico along with Cuba, the Philippines, and Guam to the United States.
Can you believe that?
The ruler of Puerto Rico were appointed by the President of the United States. It had a U.S. dictatorship that brought democracy.
Dictatorship bringing democracy.
The Foraker Act of 1900 allowed Sorry,
Hi, cat.
my cat was on the screen that I wasn't reading from because I know all this.
What screen?
The Foraker Act of 1900 allowed Puerto Ricans an amount of civilian government. In 1917, a law called the Jones-Saffroth Act made Puerto Ricans U.S. citizens, which was just to allow the United States to draft. They even made the flag red, white, and blue. They created a sort of Bill of Rights, which gave Puerto Rico many constitutional rights that Americans enjoy. But because Puerto Rico's dependency on the U.S., the Great Depression greatly hurt their economy.
I wish I knew about the government.
I know more about that on the second floor of my house. Whoa! Well, haven't done that in a while. That really shivered my timbers.
I am quite scared. Puerto Rico's government.
Let's talk about that.
Hunter. How did Puerto Rico become a territory?
The Spanish-American War.
Do you know what the difference between a territory and a state is?
Oh, geez. The territory's where Scooby-Doo lives, and the state is where Kim Jong-un lives.
Okay, should have studied your vocab.
I'm sorry, Churchill.
A territory is similar to a state, but they do not have all the rights, and they are not like an actual part of the country. But a state is like part of the whole thing, man. And they can like vote. And that's pretty cool.
I feel stupid.
So, summarize. Do you know any arguments for Puerto Rico being a state?
I mean, it would give them more rights to be part of the U.S. But I mean, really, a major argument against it is they're in so much debt to us. Like, it's incredible.
That's our fault, though. also need to know about political boundaries with Puerto Rico.
Do you need a map?
Yes.
Boom!
Wow.
What else do you need a map for?
Well, population concentrations.
Boom!
Wow, got one for everything. Okay, what about road systems?
Boom!
Natural resources. Ha! What about Hurricane Maria?
Boom!
You want to see a population pyramid of Puerto Rico?
Boom! The crude death rate for Puerto Rico was 7.94 as of 2015. As of 2015, the crude birth rate was 11.73.
Believe it or not, most Puerto Ricans are Roman Catholic and or Jewish. The cat is saying that there is only Spanish and English mostly in Puerto Rico.
The infant mortality rate is 8.24. Life expectancy is 78.29 years. The natural increase rate is 1.2. The child mortality rate is 7.4.
Hunter, do you think I could teach myself about economics?
Sure.
Research mode. After countless hours of intense, physically demanding research, I have found that the government in Puerto Rico swelled by more than 70 billion with obligatory payments, and the government announced that Puerto Rico could not pay its debt. Like the United States, it was not allowed to file bankruptcy. However, Congress ensured that in 2006 a federal board was enacted to decide financial things about Puerto Rico. I, personally, also found that it had small imports with the Netherlands, Dominican Republic, United States, and chemical machinery, equipment, food, clothing, fish, petroleum products, and other major parts of the Puerto Rican imports, as well as public waters, utilities, forest mining, and fishing were also a part of said responsibility. The primary sector accounts for $800 million. Our money. Even though the secondary fact that is the largest account for 46% of the island's gross domestic product is manufacturing. The majority of Puerto Rico's manufacturing is devoted to pharmaceutical goods.
Dope.
Don't do it.
Get it?
I forgot also territory sector in financing, including real estate, trade, tourism, the quaternary sector is entrepreneurship, and the quinary sector is management consulting. That is a lot about Puerto Rico's economy, also in a paper.
Now recently, I'm sure you've heard about this, but there was a little hurricane. Just
Little.
kidding. It was a big one. It was a big boy, just like Colin. Called Hurricane Maria. It was regarded as the worst natural disaster in Dominica and caused major catastrophic damage in Puerto Rico. It was the 10th most intense Atlantic storm. Catastrophic damage across the northeastern Caribbean was caused. 175 mile per hour winds. Maria developed into a tropical storm on September 16th. That's a fad. It was a Category 5 hurricane. Puerto Rico on Wednesday, September 20th is when it hit. Because of this, they're currently facing a water crisis. Raw sewage is contaminated by the water supply, which means that people that need water are turning to contaminant sources. You know what that means. Hospitals claim they're operating in crisis mode One might ask, how can we solve these problems?
I have to use the bathroom.
Guys, listen, I don't actually have to use the bathroom. I just want to do a relief effort, but Hunter said he wanted to do it, but I'm taking this.
This isn't the bathroom.
Puerto Rican authorities have attempted to help the locals, but couldn't due to the massive destruction. They've confirmed 48 dead. And what has President Trump done? At first he didn't do much, but then thankfully President Trump had pledged for federal help to Puerto Rico. And the PRFAA, Puerto Rico Federal Affairs Administration, have confirmed at least 4,000 U.S. soldiers in Puerto Rico. As the president of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, said, federal partners are aggressively working to meet and overcome challenges to opening ports and restoring power to bring additional life-saving commodities and personnel into disaster-affected areas. The U.S. Coast Guard is working with other agencies to provide help to Puerto Rico, which basically means they're donating money to several organizations. The Central Border Control has helped evacuate people from Puerto Rico. The Department of Defense provides medical help to the people of Puerto Rico. One big obstacle is our president, Trump, who has somewhat of a vendetta against the people of Puerto Rico. This could be because Puerto Rico is in massive debt. But as we learned earlier, that's our fault. The Jones Act protects Puerto Rican citizens by recognizing them as U.S. citizens. The Jones Act was signed by President Wilson, and it basically states that citizenship must mean they are a citizen. This allows the people of Puerto Rico to travel continental U.S. freely without a passport. This also means that the United States must treat Puerto Rico like its own state. Meanwhile, organizations such as UNICEF are providing childcare, emergency supplies, water, and many more items to the people of Puerto Rico, as well as donations. Another organization that is helping out is the American Red Cross. They are asking for donations to help those in need. The main problem with providing these relief efforts is the ocean, and we can't exactly get there soon. And if so, how? As stated by Donald Trump, and this ain't like Florida where we can just go right up the spine, or like Texas where we can go right down the middle and distribute, and that this thing called the Atlantic Ocean, this is tough. I think that relief effort can be improved by shipping more workers and U.S. troops to Puerto Rico, because if we send them over, they can bring supplies to those in need. Hey Colin, how do you think we can improve relief efforts? Colin?
Well, Hunter, actually, if you give more money to organizations like the Red Cross or Blue Cross, or organizations that help across the other countries, it will not only help Puerto Rico, but a lot of other places.
And if you would like to get involved with Puerto Rico, here are some links to organizations that will send you to relief organizations.
Thanks, Hunter. This sure beat a Patterson video.
If you want to see more great videos like this one,
Like and subscribe!
Subscribe to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/c/HunterBMX.
See you next week!